So Jamaica, we did a couple projects, but the one that sort of stands out is the development of their national export strategy, which focus on diversifying the economy away from the traditional bauxite. So they identified 6 priority non-traditional sectors, which included film and animation, information technology enabled services, manufacturing, mining, agro-processing, and nutraceuticals. Very interesting, something close and dear to my heart. So nutraceuticals in particular really focus on the cannabis industry. Of course, nutraceuticals is the very sort of technical term that they would use. And really and truly, one of the things that we found interesting is that the world is moving ahead with the cannabis industry, and the Caribbean and countries like Jamaica, which should actually be pioneering and leading the way because of the Rastafarian movement and all of that, we find ourselves getting left behind because of these antiquated ways of thinking or laws. So it's great to see that in Jamaica, they took the leadership role in the region to sort of decriminalize marijuana and doing research on the industrial and the scientific and the medicinal component of marijuana, which is their nutraceuticals industry. So this was one of the areas that we helped them with in terms of the export strategy. So film and animation, so Jamaica is very well known for their creative industries, and often people think of Jamaican culture equals reggae and music, which is true, that's one of their components, but there's so many other layers and levels of the creative class in Jamaica. And one overlooked area is their film and animation industry, which is small, but it's growing, it's gaining ground. And so that was an interesting area for us. So Jamaica is positioning themselves to be the logistics hub of the Caribbean region, and so they wanted to sort of be on the level like the Rotterdams and the Singapores and the Panamas of the Caribbean region, so that they be a logistics hub. So one of the things we recommended, just to take it one step further, is to negotiate with the United States so that they could break bulk in Jamaica for the United States. And something similar is happening in terms of the visa and for passengers in the Bahamas, where you can clear immigration in the Bahamas and it was as if you entered into the United States. So our recommendation is that, learning from that immigration example, you can take it to customs, where you can break bulk. Let's say Chinese bring their ship, they break bulk, and then from Jamaica they can then go to Miami, to New York, to the different points in the United States. For Jamaica, in developing their national export strategy, we identified about 115 strategic interventions for the growth of their export sectors, valued at over $20 million over a 5-year period. So those were some of and the implementation was done by about 36 different agencies. So we sort of helped break it down agency by agency, what each component was required for each of the agencies. So for example, for JAMPRO, we identified these are the 10 things that you need to do over the next 5 years to ensure that your component of the export strategy is implemented. And the Manufacturing Association, they had their own initiatives. So year by year, sector by sector, agency by agency, we were able to divvy up those 115 initiatives. So we included timelines, budgets, who would be responsible, when it needed to be completed, and what would be the KPIs or the key performance indicators or the OVIs, whatever they call it, so that they can measure and monitor and say, well, okay, this is the KPI we want to achieve and we've achieved it. So we consider this task completed and successful. In terms of data, I always say data is the new oil. We live in an information age, so every decision must be built on data analysis. So we looked at each of their sectors, we looked at the production capacity, we looked at the markets, the demand, the potential, what were some of their most lucrative markets, We did performance analysis over, let's say, 20 years, so we can see what are the trends, what's emerging from each of the sectors, where the growth potential, and that's how we use data, from the Central Statistical Office to determine the path for each of the sectors. I think for Jamaica, there's one word that comes to mind looking at their history over the past few decades, not just what happened with the recent hurricane, and that word is resilience. So the Jamaican people are resilient people. They always bounce back. And I think we also need to see these natural disasters as opportunities as well. Opportunities to build back better, to build back stronger, to look for gaps and to fix it in the market. So this is an opportunity for them to actually start over, build from scratch, build better, bigger than they were before. So it's an opportunity for the tourism sector, but for all sectors really. Whether it's from infrastructure to manufacturing, whatever the case may be. It's really about finding the opportunity and really focusing on resilience.